been there for me, and it's always made me happy.
Full of positive energy out of him.
But a very genuine person.
Hello, I'm Andrew Lambert. I'm diagnosed with autism. Football has helped me in a lot of ways I could never imagine. I remember back in 2003, I was sitting on the sofa with my stepdad, we were watching pre-season football. I remember it was actually Sporting against Sporting Lisbon in the Portuguese League against Man United. Obviously that was the first game everyone saw Ronaldo against United. I was so intrigued by it, just running along the field, running along that line and cutting inside. Everyone knew I could run, and I knew I could run. So if I can add a ball to my feet, what could I do? And from then on, I kept on playing, started to work on my abilities a lot more. And when I was a kid, I started off playing when I was 7, roughly around winter time. There's this guy that runs a thing on a Saturday down at World School called Paul Savage. He's known me for the best part of my childhood as well. He's had to go through a lot of things with me. He's seen the best and worst sides. And if it wasn't for him and even with Dave as well, with them two kind of combined, they've both helped me out in ways that I could never imagine. And I'd always be thankful to people that have always helped me around since I was a kid, even mates, family, when people have always been involved and always helped me to be a better person and to adapt to what I am today.
I've seen Andrew mature really well, and same strength, but mature through his disability, and the potential that we can see in Andrew and the leadership qualities that he holds is perfect for what we want. Andrew's more than happy he's always the one, and it has been for years, that if we've got a player that isn't quite as good, Andrew's the one that will go over and take him under his wing and help him out, like through training and stuff. So that sort of comes on to coaching, if that makes sense.
My relation to Andrew, he is my younger brother. As many people say, we look like twins when we were growing up, very identical. Just he got the height, I didn't. He's so funny. He's the complete difference to me. He says I'm a lot more confident. I wasn't. He was actually more confident than I was. He always used to get me to approach stuff. I just sort of always went along with it. We connected, obviously in the sports that we did together, especially into football, where we did it so young. I can't really remember how we first knew about it, but I remember that Andrew sort of said, "Oh, there's football on a Saturday. Should we go?" And that's how we went along. He used to go every weekend, and he loved it. And we used to also play against each other, as he said before. Obviously, I used to tackle him. He used to always sort of wind him up, but it was more to push him and pressure him to get him to improve, to get better. But he was so good at what he did.
I would definitely say football has been the best part of my life. In my opinion, it always has been. I've always seen football as something to look forward to the weekend. Obviously, when you get older, obviously you got your wage. So that's what you look forward to. Obviously, you're on a night out. I compare football to that. Instead of doing it once a month, I'm doing it every week or every couple of days. And it was my escape route to what I was living with. Football to me, when I was a kid, and even now, it's like a religion. It's like my church. I feel comfortable, feel confined in the space. Because when I'm out there kicking the ball around, I feel like I'm free. And I've always enjoyed it. I've never regretted playing football at all. Football's always been there to help me out. And to this day, I've had chances come and go. But then I'm always still willing to keep on going and playing until hopefully the best part of 80 years old.
You can sum Andrew up in many ways: annoying, argumentative, but a very genuine person that has come a long way in the time that I've known him.
He's kind, friendly, full of positive energy out of him. He always loves to chat. He jokes about all the time. He likes to prank about. He enjoys being around, especially my kids. My kids love him as well. He always plays with them. He never makes anyone feel out of place. He's always very welcoming. It's just great to be around.
At the very start, it was run by someone else, a guy called Russell. We used to do it at Herons Moor, which is at the library campus by Morrison's. I found that through some old schoolmates. Also, I went to the disability school, and they found out and they wanted me to get involved and decided to go down there once a week, I think it was. But that was back in 2010 when the World Cup was on. Roughly around that time, that's when I started going. That's when Dave and Dan came along and got themselves involved with the club, and then we changed it to Western Ability because that's basically what it changed to. And been here 12 years, I'm the longest serving player. I enjoy it, enjoy every session, and been enjoying it ever since. And they are good lads, good mates. Sometimes they are a pain in the backside, but it's what you got to deal with.
As a captain, he's brilliant. His control and the way that he communicates to the players is great. It's very difficult because there are a lot of his mates that have been like friends for a long time, but he takes on the role really well, looks after him, and he's just a friend to him really, and they all look up to him.
What Andrew was like when we were younger, it was tough for Andrew as a child. He'd always get into trouble. He couldn't control his behaviour. And we were in the same primary school, and every time I had to go to see the headmaster to hand in a piece of paper from my teacher, he was always sat outside the headmaster's room because he'd been told off, or he wasn't doing as he was supposed to be told to do. And he got bullied so much growing up because he seemed different to a lot of people out there. And in my eyes, he's not different. He is himself. He's like anybody else, any other human being in this world. Yes, he may act a little different. He may talk a little different, or he might express his feelings a little different to how someone else would. But people used to bully him for the way that he was and always made fun of him, and it used to trigger him off all the time. And of course, he could control his anger, and he always got told off for something that he was just standing up for his own self. I mean, when we were kids, kids were kids. We used to wind each other up, and we knew what Andrew's trigger points were. And there would be times, let's wind him up. And we would do it, and we would get a reaction out of it. And I think when we got older, we sort of learned and knew that it wasn't the right thing to do. And we learned the way that how Andrew was growing up, the routine he had, how things were laid out, and knowing when was the right time or what was the right thing to say, kind of thing.
I have had opportunities compared to most. Obviously, back when I was younger, it was completely different. You tried to go along for a team. If they were to find out you were different in any form or see it, they'll say no. The reason why they could not take on a challenge of something they did not know. Because say back 20 years ago, if people found out you had a disability, you were put aside. You were not part of social life itself. You're not classed as a normal day-to-day person. When I got to my teens and everything, when we started doing our league football, playing for the team, I was loving it. And I was hoping, all right, this is how I'm going to get my chances. When I push myself to the brink of point, I would fall down. When I got to college, I was there playing college football for about 4 years. We always got the qualifying quite bang on when it came to the tournaments. And obviously, back then we were all a team of individuals. And it was always great having a laugh with everyone going away for the day. I did have an opportunity back in, I think it's 2013, which is for the under-21s England squads for disabilities. It was quite a good day, quite a challenge, because only one person could get picked, and I was along with the FA. I was 17. They said, I think they sent me a letter saying obviously I didn't get picked for the team, but they said by the time I was 18, they're going to try to help me to push on towards another club or a team in my local area. Back then we didn't have one to do it, so I missed out on that. But then I feel like I've had my chances come and go, but I'll definitely take any opportunity, even right now. Whilst play one good year, say for a team like Bristol Rovers or anything like that, even any team, I'd happily go take it, play one good year, and be like, at least I can say I've done it, and I'm proud of myself that I'm doing this right now.
Andrew was very troubled when he was a child. Had a lot of anger issues. And over the years I've seen him grow, seen him control that and turn into the person he is now.
I would happily say my role models, I was growing up during one of the best generations of football. Like growing up in the 2000s, obviously you had David Beckham, you had Ronaldo coming up, you had Wayne Rooney, Ronaldinho. But for me, the best out of the lot was David Beckham. It was just the way, not the fact he did have good hair, I'll give him that. I like the ponytail, wish I could have had it myself. It's just the way how he could see things that no one else could see on the field. Like the way how he could kick a ball, and it just makes it look like an art picture. It's a form of art when you get your brush and you scrape along, obviously the picture. I've always looked back in books when it comes to older people, like you had Cruyff, you had Gullit, the best of legends, obviously 1966. I've always looked back to that and looked over the role models over the past 100 years, just to see how the game has changed from then to now. And I'd always say that the greatest players were the ones I was happy growing up and watching, which was obviously the United team back in those days, where they had the best team in the world. And I'd say the two best role models I looked up to was Cristiano Ronaldo and David Beckham. They were the best ones for me to look at.
From the moment he probably saw a football, I mean, I've seen photos where he was kicking the ball far younger than 6, and it was always something that caught his interest, and he used to spend hours on end running around in the garden, and we used to do it together. We used to try and see who could do the most kicky ups, which was what it was called back in the day, kick the ball up, and who would win. We used to do a lot of freestyle football out in our courtyard, which used to be the back of the house we used to live in years ago. And he used to be the goalkeeper, or we'd switch over. Used to see who could do the different tricks of things that I could do, he couldn't do, vice versa. But yeah, every day, sun, rain, snow, hurricane, that ball was his life, and it was such a happy place for him. He used to get a bit competitive at times. I mean, if, like I say, he didn't win on something, of course he'd have his moment of temper, but he'd always rush back to it.
It's difficult to say, especially with autism, because there's no set, this is autism, that's autism. It's just so many different things. Every player, every different person has got different traits, so you can't really pinpoint what autism is. There, you can see it in a player straight away, and you can see how they can sort of develop and everything else. But you can't really sort of pinpoint, what his autism is. I've always been into football, but my eldest son, he's got autism as well. When Dan was younger, so he was sort of 12, 13, football didn't interest him, and then he just become of an age when he was about 15, something like that, 14, 15, he started wanting to get into football. I was a level 2 qualified coach, so just jumped in, started helping out. What we're doing at the moment as a club, we've just got a young section coming in, development section, so ages 10 and upwards. Watching them play and getting involved in football is really what it's about. The older ones, they've not grown out of their disabilities, but they've matured into them, if that makes sense. But the younger kids are still their autism shows more than what the older players does, because they haven't matured yet. And just watching them enjoy playing football, it's just really what it's about. For future Western Ability, we want to grow the club. We want a lot more younger players, and we want more players with disabilities to be able to come in and feel safe and feel inclusive in playing. The biggest problem I feel that within the football mainstream is that kids that enjoy football, that have got a learning difficulty, go to a mainstream club straight away. They're the ones that are put on the bench because they're not as good as everyone else. It's too results driven in mainstream football, so they're the ones that get pushed to the side. So what we want to do is grow the club, get that younger, so when they're at that young age, get them in, get them playing football, get them enjoying it.
Football has helped Andrew mentally. Andrew was always difficult to express his feelings, physically and mentally. He didn't know how to explain them when we were growing up. And whenever we went, for him to go to football, you could see he was in his happy place. He was like a completely different person than being at home. With Andrew, like his life, a lot of the time he was at home, he was always in his room, he was very confined. He used to play on the console all the time. It used to be like FIFA, or you should call it like Call of Duty, but he was always in his room. You wouldn't really see him outside of his bedroom, unless obviously having something to eat. But when he used to go outside, it was always playing with football, and you could see, just even though he wasn't seeing it himself, that how happy it put a smile on his face, and he'd be so proud of like scoring a goal or doing a tackle or doing a skill around somebody, and it was brilliant to watch.
Very. As I said, we've been doing it 11 years. If you went to a couple of local special needs schools and spoke to them about it, they wouldn't even know that we were there, even though that we contact them and everything. The whole getting players in is very difficult. The hardest part for us, I feel, is getting the coaches, because without the right amount of coaches, we can't coach the kids. So lucky at the moment, we've got four coaches. Andrew's going to be doing a coaching course soon, and he's going to be jumping in, doing the younger ones, as well as 2 other senior players as well. So that's a way of us getting coaches into the club, with the senior players doing it. But volunteer-wise, over the last 10 years, we've probably had 5 or 6 volunteers. And with children with the learning difficulties that they've got, they need stability. So what we found is people go, oh, I can do it this week, but I can't do it next week, the week after. And that has impacts on them, on how they train, how they play, everything else. They just need someone that's going to be there from the start and see it through.
Physically, yes. It has helped him a lot. It's kept him in shape, for one. I mean, Andrew did have a moment where he was quite depressed. And he's, like I say, stayed in a lot, he didn't do a lot, he started to gain weight, and then he wasn't feeling happy about himself. And then we would have a chat here and there, and I sort of said to him, like, maybe try and get more into football again, which he came across the team that he's in. And then I think over time, Andrew's disability has not affected me in any way. I look at him and I'm proud to have him as my brother. I would not change him for the world. He, like I said, he's loving, he's caring, he's so kind. He thinks about others so much more than probably what other people think of him. He's brilliant. Like I said, I would not change him for anybody. He's my brother and I love him dearly.
Yeah, I've been doing Western Ability team for 12 years now. So I'd like to think, that we have had an impact on Andrew's life and how he's turned out now.
Physical, yes. Definitely yes. Back when I was younger, I was quite even though I'm about 5'11", 6 foot, I was like considered as a lanky kid because due to the fact I was skin and bone, and that was it. Playing football when I was 12, 14, or not even that, I was younger than that. I was 10. I was playing against 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and most of them were they were bigger than me, obviously taller and bigger, and obviously playing against physical guys at a young age, it helped me pick up my physicality a lot more, and then going to the gym, and that helped me up getting physical and everything. If I didn't do football, I think I'd be in a worse place for my mental health. Definitely. It has helped me out and helped me understand into the person I am today. Because when I've seen a lot of my role models, they've gone on to do great things in life. And I don't compare myself to that. Obviously they earn millions and obviously I don't. But I try to see the fact of if they can change, I can change it, so anyone can change. And I'll say mentally, football has helped me out through the best and worst of my childhood and even up to now. It's always been there for me, it's always made me happy.
Watch for run.